The Parker children were Riley's first babysitting job outside of friends of the family. The Allens and the Williamses' homes were comfortable, familiar. She had known them since she was born. The Parkers were more of a mystery, a well-to-do family. Everyone knows who they are. They have the largest house in town, though most have never seen them. Only people who work for them. Their children have private tutors and a nanny, so they don't go out much. She would usually keep the kids when the parents were out of town, but she had a family emergency this weekend, leaving the Parkers in need of a sitter. Riley's family friend, Mr. Allen, is the gardener and suggested her for the job. She was both terrified and excited, but the pay was so good she had to accept. The first night and day went well. The children were surprisingly well behaved. Almost too good. But none of Riley's business how the Parkers raised their kids. It made her job easier anyway. Riley already explored most of the upstairs the night before. She was highly disappointed there were no secret passageways. It was time to check out all of the antiques downstairs. She knew she should be a normal teen and sit and watch a movie, even invite a boy over. But when would she ever get this chance again? She made her way to the study where there were so many books, and one of those giant globes that spins. Riley always wanted one of those. On the desk was an old antique phone. She ran her fingers over the rotary, sticking her finger through the 7, trying to turn it, but it seemed stuck. Just as she grabbed the headset, the phone rang loudly. She jumped back and gasped. She didn't even think it worked. It continued to ring. Should I answer it? She thought. If it were anyone for her, they would call her cell phone. She checked her phone to see if anyone had tried to call her. Well, if anyone had, she wouldn't receive it anyway because there was no service. She decided to answer the phone, but by the time she grabbed it and picked it up, it stopped ringing. She figured she would check the rest of the house to see if there was a newer phone that had caller ID. There was no phone anywhere. Riley decided normal teenager was the route to take for the rest of the night. As soon as she sat down and got comfortable under a blanket, Riley dozed off. Jolted awake by the loud ring, she looked at her phone to see the time. It was 2:47 a.m. Why is anyone calling the house at this hour? Maybe it was someone trying to reach her. She went to the study to answer it, but it stopped as soon as she reached for the headset again. Weird. It's like the phone knows when she's about to touch it. She decided to try calling the Parkers to see if this is normal, if it's some sort of malfunctioning of the old phone. But when she put the receiver to her ear, she didn't hear a dial tone, only silence. "Hello?" she said. Nothing. Then a click. Someone was definitely on the other end of the phone and hung up. She put the phone back on the base. Curious, she picked it up again. Silence. Just as she started to put the phone down, she heard one of the boys whimpering. Was there a phone in their room? Were they playing a trick on her? She knew it was too good to be true. They were pretending to be well-behaved boys. This is when the reign of terror starts. She decided to go upstairs to check it out, face them head on. Let's get the hazing over with, she thought. When she got to their room, they were out, probably faking. She lowered herself to face level to make sure. She shined her phone light right in their faces. Nothing. They were actually asleep. She decided to look for a landline. She knows someone used one in this room. If there was one, they hid it well. She crawled on the floor along the bottom of the wall, not a jack in sight. As she began to stand up, she was faced with a dark figure. The last thing Riley saw was the phone hit her in the face. The next morning, Riley was gone. There was no trace of her. Rumors of the Parkers killing her spread around town. They eventually moved away. Regardless of what happened or who did it, Riley was never seen again. But there's a new family in the old Parker home now. No one's seen them yet, but they have 2 children. Mr. Allen has actually seen them. He's told the gardener there and said they need a new sitter. It's really great pay. Before you enter these halls, heed warning. Tonight's chilling tales are not for the faint of heart. All who enter must be prepared to explore stories of darkness, mystery, the macabre, and all of the darkest parts of humanity. If tales of true crime, the paranormal, or other creatures that go bump in the night unsettle you, turn back now, this is not the place for you. For those of you brave souls who stayed, welcome to Dark Academy. I'm Kristin, and I'll be your guide. Grab your candle and follow me to our haunted library of horror. Please come over to the fireplace. Welcome back to the Midnight Library Circle, where we meet to discuss all things horror. We discuss a movie that leads us right into some paranormal and true crime stories. Today we're talking about the movie Black Christmas from 1974, which, by the way, if you're not interested in the movie reviews, that's okay. They're usually only about 5 minutes long and you can skip to the story that take up the bulk of each podcast. I'm trying to put timestamps in the show notes so you know where to start. We'll see you there. So those of you who are here for the movie review portion, let's get into Black Christmas. First off, I would like to say that I love 70s horror. There's just something so simple about it. The one phone in the home, no computers, people hanging out in person, completely oblivious to what's going on. It's a bit chaotic, but 70s chaotic, so it's kind of beautiful. I also love the view from the killer, so you actually know where he is and who he's stalking, some of the time. It immediately gave me Halloween vibes. And I had no idea how iconic this movie was and how much it contributed to our horror genre. John Carpenter and Bob Clark, the director of Black Christmas, had a conversation about what a sequel would look like. Clark said it would be the following year. The guy would be caught and in a mental institution. He would escape and the killing would continue. Does that sound familiar to you? Well, it's because it's similar to the beginning of Halloween. Some say it's basically the sequel to Black Christmas. But, just so we're clear, Clark did not feel like Carpenter stole the plot idea, nor did he care to ever make a sequel. This movie is so special, as I said before, because it became the prototype for future slasher films. The killer's perspective, as I already mentioned. The high body count and the final girl. I gotta say, I was a little disappointed by the ending. If you haven't seen it yet, skip ahead a few seconds. I need to know who the killer is and why he killed everybody. Why is he weeping and who or what are the other voices? At the same time, I love the simplicity behind it. Because sometimes in real life, we don't know who the killer is and why it suddenly stops. I also have to mention how much I enjoy this sorority mother. It's impressive how much of an alcoholic she is, and I'm not condoning alcoholism or promoting it, anything like that. But she's like a happier version of Annie's Miss Hannigan. Given the influence on our modern beloved flicks alone, this is a huge recommendation. But it's also a standalone classic. I really enjoyed it. If you like slashers and 70s horror at all, I think you will too. Alright, those of you here only for the story, Black Christmas was influenced by a real-life crime spree that we'll discuss later, and a well-known urban legend. Urban legends are modern folklore, told as though it were true, as though it happened to someone related to or known by the storyteller. You know, like a cousin of a friend of a friend. Like, it really happened. Cryptids and ghost stories could count as urban legends too, but we're going to talk about the ones that kind of go in the category of, it could definitely happen, making them even more terrifying. A good urban legend should make you look over your shoulder. The one that influenced Black Christmas is one most of us have heard, or at least some portion of it. The babysitter who gets a call from inside the house, like the story in the opening. It has many versions depending on the audience. Usually, it's told by teenagers to teenagers at slumber parties, so of course, death is involved. I miss good sleepovers. I've had them as adults and they're fun, but they're so much harder to get together when you're all so busy. Anyway, so either the babysitter or the children are killed, sometimes both. For children, it may be watered down to where a sibling of the babysitter or children themselves are playing a prank on the babysitter. So, most urban legends, as you know, stem from something real. In this case, the true story thought to inspire the babysitter legend comes from Columbia, Missouri in 1950. Jeanette Chrisman was a young teenager, just weeks from her 14th birthday, little 13-year-old. So while babysitting, she was sexually assaulted and killed. There's some sickos in this world. They don't know who the killer is, but they suspected someone both the family and Jeanette knew. Someone who was at the house playing cards before this. 27-year-old Robert Mueller. He left early to go home to attend a sick child, but did not go home. Jeanette tried to call the police. She was screaming on the phone. Can you even imagine? I don't know how you 911 operators do it. They weren't able to get the address from her, so they couldn't help her. When the parents returned home, the porch light was on and the front door unlocked. I really want police to hear something. People have children. Also, grown people are absent-minded sometimes. Sometimes the front door is left unlocked or open, even by accident. Sometimes intruders try to open doors. Someone tried to open our door one night. Luckily, it was closed and locked that night, thank God. But in other words, this does not always mean the intruder was let in the house. Stop assuming no forced entry means the person knew the assailant. Anyway, her case is unsolved. There are clown or statue in the corner versions, but I'll save that if there's ever another movie related, which may be soon. Good urban legends are so fun to tell in here. Because you're still here, after all this time, you're either very supportive, and I thank you, or you love to hear true stories too. So, though the creativity, suspense, and inner thoughts and details can only come from fictional writing, the facts of true stories are usually worse than anything we could imagine in our minds. True vampires may not be real, as far as we know, but some have been given the title due to their penchant for blood. Canada had such a vampire back in the late 60s and early 70s. Norma Valancourt was a 21-year-old teacher in Montreal, Canada. First of all, how do y'all survive up there in the cold? This Florida girl cannot imagine. But this ain't about me, so let's get back to it. She was found strangled in her apartment on July 23, 1968. She had been raped, but she also did not struggle. She even had sort of a smile on her face, which is weird. This led police to believe she knew her attacker and was possibly into sadomasochism. What was really interesting to police, and what came to be the killer's signature, was the bite marks on her breasts. It was vampiric in nature, as though she was seduced, killed, and bitten. But it wasn't until 20-year-old Shirley Audette was found in a similar way on October 3, 1969, that police began to call him the Vampire Rapist. I wonder why they just call him the rapist instead of a killer. She was found fully clothed behind some apartments. She was also raped and strangled with bite marks on her breasts. It was thought she did not fight, furthering the suspicion she was into the rough nature of the rape and strangulation. It appears these women may not have known they were being murdered. On November 23rd of the same year, 20-year-old jewelry clerk Marielle Archibald left for work with a man named Bill. Co-workers reported she seemed happy. You know what? Is that the name of the vampire from True Blood? I'll have to look that up. Co-workers report she seemed happy. When she didn't show up for work the next day, her employer went to Marielle's landlady for a welfare check. She must really care about her. Or she's really short-staffed, who knows. They went into her apartment to check on her. They found her on a couch, fully clothed except her pantyhose. Oh, the days of pantyhose. She had also been raped and strangled with bite marks. A photograph of a man named Bill was found in the apartment. Her co-workers identified the man as the Bill Marielle was seeing, so sketches of the photo were distributed. Only, the picture was of Marielle's dead father. On January 16, 1970, Brian Caulfield came to pick up 24-year-old Jean Way for a date. When she didn't answer the door, he left, but returned, deciding to try again. When he went to the door this time, it was open. He went inside to find her naked dead body. That had to be awful. She had been raped and strangled, but unlike the other victims, she had no bite marks. Also, unlike the other victims, police believe Jean fought her attacker. They believe Brian scared him off before he had time to bite her. Like, what is it with the bite? I don't know. It's just weird. News of Jean's death caused mass hysteria, but the killer had moved on to Calgary. Another teacher, 33-year-old Elizabeth Ann Porteous, did not show up for work on May 18, 1971. So he laid low for 1.5 years. Is it possible there are more out there? My speculative question only, just so we're clear. Her apartment manager found her body on the bedroom floor. She had been raped and strangled with bite marks on her breast. The apartment showed signs of a struggle, so maybe he misjudged her desire for the rough sex the other women were into, allegedly. This time, there was a clue left. Cufflinks were found under her body. Co-workers saw her at a stoplight in a blue Mercedes with a very specific bull emblem. And a friend said she'd recently started dating a man named Bill. Yep, Bill. You'd think he would change his name. Bill was apprehended by police when his blue Mercedes was spotted on May 19, 1971, the very next day. So that was fast. He told detectives he just moved to Calgary from Montreal. Idiot, just tell him where to look. He did claim the cufflinks, but said he and Elizabeth were dating, and she was alive and well when he left her. Of course she was, Bill. Obviously they didn't believe him because he was arrested. Wayne, not Bill, Bowden. A vampire named Wayne. Anticlimactic if you ask me. Anyway, so he was born in 1948 in Dundas, Ontario, Canada. When apprehended, he was a 26-year-old traveling salesman. He was actually previously a former fashion model, so he fits the beautiful characteristic of a vampire, I suppose. The ones we picture in modern times, anyway. But Bowden wasn't a vampire folktale. He was a real person. A monster who killed women for his own pleasure. So, thankfully, he was sentenced to 4 life sentences on February 16, 1972. He did eventually confess to 4 of the murders, but seemed appalled he was considered a suspect in the Norma Valancourt case. Wayne Bowden was the first person in North America convicted based on odontological evidence, the same evidence that later helped convict Ted Bundy. Orthodontist Gordon Swan, with the help of the FBI, found 29 points of similarity between the bite marks in Bowden's teeth. So Bowden spent his life in prison in Kingston Penitentiary, Kingston, Ontario. Except the time he escaped. Somehow, he got an American Express credit card in 1977, 5 years into his sentence. Apparently, Canada, and listen, I know we got problems, but we're not talking about us right now. I don't know what's going on with this, but they let a serial killer out on a day pass because he used his new credit card while visiting the real world that he should have been banned from. The guards weren't paying enough attention and let a serial killer escape. Bundy escaped that same year too, so something was going on with law enforcement that year. I did read somewhere else that it was 1984 and not 77, so maybe not. And believe it or not, despite the similarities, Bowden didn't kill Norma. A man named Raymond Suave was convicted of killing her in 1994, sentenced to 10 years. 10 years! Bowden died in Kingston General Hospital on March 27, 2006 from skin cancer. So, goodbye, Vampire Wayne. He has not been and will not be missed. Well, that's it for the dark and chilling tale of the vampire rapist serial killer, Vampire Wayne, and the babysitter urban legend that inspired the horror movie Black Christmas. Now is time for our final fright. We're going to talk about something I had no idea was a thing. Christogeneticophobia, the fear of Christmas. Can you imagine the most wonderful time of year being your personal worst time of year? It usually stems from childhood, so something bad happened to these people. Last Christmas, I covered the Covina massacre. I could definitely understand if those surviving children have this phobia. But what in the world happened to others, and how common is this? I read it's a small number, but how small? It's big enough for a name. It can stem from a fear of any tradition involved in the holiday, like Santa, reindeer, fire, even snow and gifts. Like most anxiety disorders, people may experience rapid heartbeat, rapid breathing, nausea, fainting, and feeling of dread. Many people who have never experienced diagnosed anxiety disorders level panic attacks think it's fake or something you can control. Which you can control how intense and how long it is to a degree once you learn how, but you cannot control it happening in the initial intensity. It feels like you're dying, and that causes further panic if you don't know what's going on. It's truly scary, so anyone who has this phobia around what should be a beautiful time of year, I am so sorry. I'd love to hear from you. How have you coped? Is it possible to come up with totally different traditions to make it special still? Please let me know. Well, thank you for joining me here in the Midnight Library at Dark Academy. I hope you enjoyed this dark and chilling tale and will come back next time for another one. Don't forget to leave a review, and you can rate us on whatever app you're listening on. And please do. It really helps a small show like this one. You can also email me at darkacademypod@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and I'll meet you here next time. Same time, same place, for it's always midnight in the Dark Academy Library. Bye!